welcome aboard. It's episode 10. I can't quite believe it. We've gone 10 episodes already. I remember that our first ever episode just 10 episodes ago. And yeah, we were novices at this game, and now we're still novices. Welcome aboard, James.
Thank you, Adam. It's another episode. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for your nice comments last week regarding our interview with Chris Rushton. Really appreciated, and thanks again for Chris for coming on. We hope to get a few more guests in the coming weeks. Next up, each week we discuss a variety of sports, and it says exactly in the description when we're discussing each sport, so you can skip to whatever you're interested in.
Our podcast does what it says on the tin. The tin being the caption comments below.
Right, thank you for completely throwing me off there, but anyway... Right, first of all, sort of non-sporty related topic to get us going. The Arctic Monkeys are back.
Yes, an absolutely fantastic band from Sheffield. Have produced some really lovely music over the years, and hopefully their new music can replicate their lovely old stuff.
Yeah, what's your favourite song of theirs?
That's difficult. You put me on the spot. I'm going to say, I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor.
Why'd you only call me When You're High?
Is that your favourite song?
I quite enjoy that song, yeah, I think it's a decent one.
Nice.
Arena tour, I think they're doing about 10 dates, something like that, the Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah, a couple of dates in each major place within the United Kingdom, Manc, London.
Do you see yourself there at one of these gigs?
Hopefully, but hopefully not standing.
Yeah.
I can't be arsed with the sort of, the moshing mongs, with all due respect to them.
Yeah, you can't say mongs in this day and age. But anyway, yeah, moshing is just something I sort of despise. If you go to bands, say, such as the Cortinas and stuff like that, the crowds couldn't be much worse. It's generally like about as bad as it can possibly get.
Couldn't agree more.
Anyway, moving on to our first sport. The Premier League of Darts was in Liverpool this week at the Echo Arena, and it was Judgement Night. After the finals, probably the most important night of the Premier League season. The two contenders at the bottom of the table do get relegated and are sent packing from the competition.
Sent home.
Yeah, pack your bags, you're gone.
See ya.
Barry's not interested. Anyway, it was at the Echo Arena. My first experience at the Echo Arena, quite a nice place, quite small, not quite as big as Manchester or the O2. We, of course, went down, me, Adam, and a couple of other lads went down to the arena to watch the darting action take place. First game up, Simon Whitlock, Gerwyn Price. Gerwyn Price, we've said over the past few weeks, has caused a lot of controversy in regards to comments he's posted on social media, not really respecting the sport of darts. So did it come as any sort of surprise to you that Simon Whitlock was managed to beat Gerwyn relatively comfortably, took a 7-3 win?
Absolutely no surprise whatsoever. Whitlock's playing some really lovely darts in the Premier League this year. And Gerwyn Price, unfortunately, hasn't hit the ground running, has looked pretty mentally weak up there on the hockey. Hopefully, this, getting out of the Premier League will do Price no harm whatsoever, because he is a good player. So all the best to Gerwyn. Hopefully we see him back.
Yeah. Next up, the youngster Michael Smith. He's really come through this year. We've said again and again and again.
Is he a youngster still? Really?
He's about 20. He's not that old. He's mid-20s. It's still relatively young compared to darts players who are going into their 50s.
Yeah. It is, yeah. But he's been a youngster for the last 10 years, as Michael Smith.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have. Anyway.
Anderson, the former Manchester United midfielder, we were talking about that yesterday. He seemed to be 21 for 20 years and then sort of 38 for about 10.
Yeah. Sort of like Thai women who look about 20 till they're about 50 and then age to 80 and then that's sort of it for them.
And have a pretty large penis, mostly.
I was talking women, but I don't know what stereotypes you're going down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from transsexual Thai women. Smith won the game 7-0. He beat Barney relatively comprehensively. Of course, I was in Liverpool and wanted to see Barney take a victory, one of my favourite players, but it wasn't to be. Michael Smith dealt with Barney relatively comfortably. Barney didn't play badly, but Michael was just a bit too much on the night.
Yeah, Michael wasn't sort of crash-bang wallop either. It was just a very steady performance from Smith and ultimately won every single leg. It was just a bizarre game, and Smith is on a roll in this Prem, isn't he?
He is. Second at the moment, which is a massive difference, of course, from his first season where he came 10th. He really is looking at those playoff places. It's more than likely he'll get into finals night at the O2 in a few weeks' time. Anyway, next up, two heavyweights, Rob Cross, Gary Anderson, both on good form. Two heavyweights colliding, and Rob Cross took the victory 7-5. What did you think of the match?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent game. It didn't quite live up to the sort of fireworks that we were hoping for, but what it did give was two classy operators playing some pretty decent darts, and Cross again. He's so good at this game. It's untrue how he's burst onto the scene, and Anderson was never really in with a chance of winning the game. I didn't think. I know the scoreline would suggest so, but Cross sort of was always in the box seat.
Yeah, I'd be more than willing to put my house on Rob Cross hitting double 18 or even double 5. He's so prolific on those numbers, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And it's what leading him to probably pick up a few more majors this year.
Won't be surprised at all.
Anyway, next up, Mensah Suljovic, of course. It came down to Judgement Night. Gerwyn Price was already relegated. Mensah and Peter Wright were fighting for that last position to remain in the Premier League. Unfortunately, Mensah had a tough draw against MVG. He managed to put in a decent performance. He got beat 7-4, but it wasn't enough to keep Mensah in the Premier League. He's out, unfortunately. But he had quite a good debut season, would you say? Relatively good.
Yeah, look, Mensah's played really good darts without getting the results he's deserved, really, which can't be said for a couple of others. But no, yeah. He played really well on the night in Liverpool. I thought MVG was at his belligerent... I've got to stutter, by the way. A belligerent best. And hit shots at the right time, and that's what the greats do, and MVG is certainly one of the greats as he leads that leaderboard.
Anyway, the last game of the night, Daryl Gurney versus Peter Wright. Decent game, and unfortunately midway through that game, some news popped up on the screen in the Echo Arena. Firstly, the game finished 6-6. Peter Wright welled up in the final leg of the game. I thought it was absolutely fantastic that he managed to keep his composure and hit his last double, which was a double in honour of Eric Bristow. Eric, of course, being a multiple-time world champion, a man who left the BDO to start the PDC because he wasn't happy with the way it was run. One of the elite in this game, one of the legends of this game, and I think it's fair to say that darts is a massive sport now in the Echo Arena, the Manchester Arena, the O2, all these massive arenas in the country selling humongous amounts of tickets, and we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Eric Bristow. Yeah,
there's no sport without Eric Bristow, the crafty Cockney, the 5-time champion of the world, an absolute pioneer of the sport that me and James have grown to love, really, and it was desperately sad to hear the news that he'd sadly collapsed and had a heart attack in the arena, actually, which we were in, so it was quite chilling. But what a special atmosphere to be a part of at the Echo Arena. It was very emotional, but I thought it was an absolutely fantastic sort of send-off for Eric Bristow. I thought Peter Wright was going to hit a 9 dart actually in the last leg, and that would have been a very typical of sort of a fantastic send-off for Bristow. But yeah, I saw a fantastic tweet actually about Eric Bristow. Eric Bristow wouldn't just order one curry; he'd order 2 curries. He'd have one curry now and have another curry in the morning. I just absolutely love that. Absolutely fantastic.
Right. Okay. Any particular curry?
I don't know what Bristow had, but
I can imagine he liked it spicy.
He's a Vindaloo man, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was absolutely fantastic, the tribute to Eric Bristow they did in the Echo Arena. Everybody in the crowd going absolutely off for him. Of course, you can't forget that a man called Phil Taylor wouldn't have had the career he had if it wasn't for Eric Bristow sponsoring him.
Yep, absolutely the case. Bristow gave him 10 grand, I think it was. And ultimately, without Bristow, there is no 16-time the champion of the world that is Philip Douglas Taylor. So yeah, look, the world of darts, the world of British sport has got an immense amount of sort of debt to Eric Bristow, and it was really sad to see him go. But what a man, what a sportsman who will be sadly missed.
Yeah, rest in peace, Eric. We'll do a little tribute to him at the end of the show. Anyway, last week we had Chris Rushton on to talk the Masters. Did you catch any of it? Did you enjoy it? How do you think it went?
I didn't. I didn't catch as much as I'd like because I tended to have plans in the evening over the weekend. But I absolutely was rooted to my TV on the Sunday evening for that last 18 holes. Last week I tipped Mark Leishman as an each way punt, Spieth to win it outright, Stenson as an each way, and John Rahm as an each way. And all of those came in the top 10, so I'm absolutely delighted with that. But it was Patrick Reed who ultimately came out on top. It was a very steady final 18. The work was ultimately done in the first 72 holes. He played some scintillating golf. But on the last day, it was all about consolidating, all about keeping that lead, which he did very well despite late charges from the great Jordan Spieth. Nobody plays Augusta like Jordan Spieth. He was fantastic to watch. And Ricky Fowler played really well. McIlroy, quite uninspiring, went into that last round with a real, genuine chance of doing the all-time sort of Grand Slam of majors within golf. Again, I don't want to say he melted, so to speak, but that's twice now on the final day of Augusta that McIlroy hasn't gone on and won when he's been in a good position.
And the GOAT was involved as well. How did Tiger Woods perform? What did you make of how he did?
Yeah, Tiger Woods was 1 over par, I think, for the week. Look, an extremely good performance from a man whose problems have been well documented. So yeah, we wish Tiger all the best, and hopefully Tiger can come back and win a major, because he's a class act and a legend of the sport.
When he's not cheating on his missus.
I mean, he's not a legend of the sport. It just means
he's a legend. But
I mean, Ryan Giggs is a legend of football, but he loved to shag Imogen Thomas and a few other women. You know,
Natasha Giggs being one of them.
Yeah, of course.
And probably a few others in between. I'd be surprised if not.
It goes without saying.
Anyway, what a bizarre week we've had in the sport of mixed martial arts. From Conor McGregor smashing buses to people pulling out to huge conferences. I'm going to sort of go for it all now in this week we had in Brooklyn. First of all, UFC 223 was meant to be headlined by Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. It's a fight that's been scheduled 4 times and been called off 4 times. It was a dream fight for hardcore fans. People wondering whether Tony Ferguson's ground game would be enough to prevent the sort of mount and control that Khabib has when he pins you down. But anyway, this wasn't to be, unfortunately. This time, Tony Ferguson got injured. And the most ridiculous thing about this is that it wasn't during his training camp. It was while he was doing his media commitments. So he's walking around doing his sort of interviews and camera work, etc. And he trips over some wires that he doesn't notice, falls over and disconnects his knee, like the skin around his knee from the bone, and he's absolutely in bits, can't fight. Really wanted to, but wasn't allowed to. Now, the first issue I have with this, and it's an issue that I see in life altogether, he would have seen those extension leads if it wasn't for the fact that he was wearing sunglasses indoors. Adam, I'm not a fan of sunglasses indoors. I imagine you're the same.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, but I just find it a bit bizarre. I mean, I know people wear them to sort of hide the fact that their pupils are the size of Mars when they're on drugs most of the time at these sort of raves, whatever they attend. But yeah, if you're sort of not trying to hide the fact you're a drug addict, then what the hell are you doing? Like wearing sunglasses indoors. I don't get it. There's no sun indoors.
Fantastically well put.
Thank you.
Anyway, so yeah, he cost himself a lot of money, in the hundreds of thousands of pounds, and his chance at maybe defeating Khabib and ending that 25-0 winning streak. So, next up, they decided to stick Max Holloway in. Max Holloway being the world champion at 145, an elite fighter, one of the pound-for-pound best. So on paper, Khabib versus Max Holloway would be a good fight. However, stepping up off 6 days' notice, having to do a huge weight cut, and coming off a big ankle injury, it never looked good for Max, and it sort of felt like Khabib would have got the better of him had the fight took place when you take into account the circumstances. But that fight didn't go ahead, and we'll get onto that shortly.
It would have been a bit like Ian Holloway in the ring with Khabib.
I feel Ian Holloway would have been mounted and hurt severely by Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Potentially, but let's be honest, Ian Holloway's got a serious sort of angry side, a real horrible side to him.
Well, they say Ian's got a stiff jab, but I'm still not sure it's enough.
And a stiff penis at times.
Right. Whatever Ian Holloway gets up to in his whole life is none of my concern. Probably Natasha Giggs. But anyway. So yeah, Conor McGregor has a teammate called Artem Lobov. Okay. He's a Russian who's involved in his camp and a very, very close friend of Conor's. So anyway, Artem Lobov said some things that Khabib didn't take kindly to in an interview. So Khabib sees him and he corners Artem Lobov in a hotel lobby with about 5-6 other lads. And Conor McGregor sees this and is absolutely raging about the scenario that his mate's been cornered by about 5-6 men. So It's not like Conor flew out to New York purely for this reason. He was coming anyway because he probably would have got to take the winner of Khabib versus Max Holloway or Tony or whoever was fighting, because of course he was. What? Or Ian Holloway even, which would have been an absolute super fight. So Conor's flown out to New York. He's in Brooklyn. He's with about 20, 25 or so coked up Dubliners. He's found the bus, which Khabib Nurmagomedov's team is on, right? And he's rushed up to the bus, grabbed a railing and chucked it through the window, smashing the window. The ice is gone. The glass has gone everywhere. It's gone into UFC fighter's face. Michael Chiesa had a fight on the card. He had to pull out because glass had gone into his face. Another fighter, Ray Borg, was injured, had to pull out. Artem Lobov's fight was pulled, so Conor McGregor cost the UFC 3 fights, which Dana White wasn't happy about. So he's injured people. He's not even got Khabib. Khabib's not even been at all affected by this scenario. Khabib's just on the back of the bus. Khabib and Conor haven't actually met face-to-face at all during this. So I don't know if Conor's achieved anything or not by this. I don't really think he has. He's cost himself a lot of money, a lot of payday opportunities. He was being wanted by the police. He's been charged with criminal mischief and assault, and that is not good for Conor at all, is it?
No, it's just a bit... Well, to a certain extent you can look at it and sort of admire what he's done. He's defending a friend, but ultimately, sometimes when you're in the public eye, you've just got to let things ride, and for McGregor, he should have just let it go.
The big issue is that he's injured fighters who weren't involved. Yeah. Like, people have cut... Not everyone's as loaded as he is. People like Michael Chiesa have trained hard for fights, and they're not going to get them because Conor's cost him.
It's a bit like that disgusting event that took place when the Togo football team got shot at.
I don't think McGregor's a terrorist, but...
Well, no, but, like, they're not involved directly, but to make a political statement, that terrorist got after the Togo football team.
What?
A very loose sort of anecdote, but it makes sense.
I think it was just an attack on a boss.
It was,
I think that's about as far as the similarities go. But anyway, Conor's been charged, he's been in court, he's in a lot of trouble. He'll be back in June for another hearing. So now Khabib gets away from the bus, scot-free. He swans into the way and he's made weight fine. Max Holloway now has been deemed medically unfit to fight. He's not had enough time to cut the weight. He's not allowed. So Dana White is scrambling around desperately for another main event. He's got Al LaQuenta to step in. Al LaQuenta's Long Island, born and bred. He's ready to fight Khabib at just a day's notice, which is really sort of impressive. Commend him for that. But the writing was sort of on the wall, and it was probably always going to be too big an ask for Al. But every credit for him taking the fight. So he stepped up. The fight went down in the first 2 rounds, as you'd expect. Khabib ragdolled him, pinned him down, did whatever he wanted to him for the first 2 rounds. But in the next 3, Al showed that there are flaws in Khabib's armour, chinks if you will. He was able to block quite a few takedowns, which people haven't been able to do before with Khabib, because he's such an excellent Sambo practitioner. And he was also able to land shots on Khabib. Khabib's chin is up in the air, and if you took those sort of shots off Conor, you'd be in trouble. And with the pace like that Tony Ferguson puts on people, he'd be landing shots at will at Khabib. So of course when Khabib does really step up to that higher level, the Tonys, the Conors, etc., he's really going to have to work on his boxing and hope, or maybe even don't entertain it at all and just exclusively go for takedowns. But Khabib is the champion. The UFC want to go to Russia. He's a hero out there. And I'm assuming they can make some massive, massive fights for Khabib in Russia. Anyway, the co-main event, Rose Namajunas defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the second time. She solidifies herself as the best female strawweight in the world. Now, we said a few weeks ago that it was fantastic that the UFC's coming to Liverpool. Darren Till, of course, being the young prospect just coming off a victory over the veteran Donald Cerrone. They've given him Stephen Thompson as his next fight. And first of all, Adam, what do you make of fights where a young prospect takes the step up from sort of domestic level to the very, very pinnacle without a bridging gap? Do you think that's wise? Because what Darren has done here, he's taking on a former world title challenger who may have been unlucky in not getting the decision in his fight. Would you say maybe that's a bridge too far?
It's probably not wise, but in UFC more so than other combat sports, you can literally get beat by anybody. So you might as well go in with these big boys, in my opinion. Till's obviously an extremely talented, up and coming sort of star, hopefully anyway. So if it was a bridge too far for him, I don't think he'd take the fight. I really don't.
So Darren, an excellent Muay Thai striker. Stephen Thompson, of course, an unbeaten kickboxer. I think he went 50-something and 0 as a kickboxer. It's a very, very, very tough fight for Darren. But Darren's extremely game and extremely confident in his own abilities. And he's younger and he's fresh, and maybe that'll be enough for him to win the fight. But it's by no means a foregone conclusion, because Stephen Thompson is 100% legit and one of the very best in the sport. It's a fantastic fight for Liverpool. And it could be even better because there's a rumour that Michael Bisping could be appearing on that card. So it's a great card for the Liverpool fans, a great one for the UK public to dig their teeth into. Anyway, the UFC's now been going for 25 years. They had the anniversary press conference over the last week. They announced several fights. Rafael dos Anjos, former UFC champion, takes on Colby Covington for the interim belt at UFC 225. Of course, this is a huge grudge match. Colby, one of the most controversial characters in the UFC. His last fight, it was in Brazil. He beat a Brazilian legend in Damian Maia, and then proceeded to call the crowd Brazilian animals. Really disrespected the crowd. He was also then thrown out of Australia earlier in the year for getting into a fight with a heavyweight who threw a boomerang at him. And worst of the worst, and I'm sure you'll be just as disgusted as I was at this news. Luckily, I don't follow Colby on Twitter, so I wasn't ruined by this tweet. He posted spoilers of the Star Wars film on social media.
Well, that's just absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. There's one thing I hate in life, and that's people striving to spoil others' enjoyment. And certainly Star Wars is absolutely enjoyment. And for someone to spoil that is absolutely vile. He should be imprisoned for that.
I mean, would you turn a blind eye to capital punishment? I mean, it's in place for a reason in some states in America. And I'm sure George Lucas would support that ruling.
Agree.
So no, yeah, UFC 227 in August in LA. It's the rematch. TJ Dillashaw defends his title against Cody Garbrandt, the man who won it off. Great fight. It was a good build-up first time round. These two men hate each other, of course, because TJ left the alpha male camp. My issue is, although it's a great fight, I was desperate for TJ to fight Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius has the longest title run in UFC history. He's defended that belt so many times it's got ridiculous. But he's defended against such low competition that it's got ridiculous. He had the opportunity to solidify his legacy in a champion versus champion match against TJ Dillashaw, and he hasn't done it. It's really infuriating. He tries to call himself the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and he won't fight anyone who can cause him problems. It's so infuriating. What's your opinion when people just aren't willing to step up and fight the very best?
It's clearly infuriating, but ultimately, if you're a world champion, you deserve that sort of luxury in order to pick who you fight. But no, yeah, it's obviously extremely frustrating for hardcore UFC fans like you, James.
Anyway, another good fight for British fans. Leon Edwards gets a chance against Cowboy Cerrone in Singapore. Hopefully another young Brit making his way through towards the world scene. Anyway, a man who we're going to talk about in depth later on in the show, Brock Lesnar. The serious rumblings that he could be in contention to fight the winner of Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier, which will be an absolute super fight. Me personally, I pick either Stipe or DC to do a job on Brock. Brock, of course, an excellent grappler, but I think his time's done now in the sport, and I feel that those two men are both just superior to him at this stage. What would be your take on Brock? Would you like to see him back in the sport? He's definitely a star, can definitely sell pay-per-views.
As far as I'm concerned, I just recall Brock Lesnar as this sort of a destructive animal from me growing up in world wrestling entertainment for years. I can't say I've seen too much of him in UFC because I'm not that big a fan of UFC overly. But what I do know is that he's a big man who hits hard, and he's a very good wrestler and good WWE wrestler as well. So yeah, bring back Brock. Hopefully he's not on drugs.
Bring back Brock, most likely on drugs, most likely like filled to the brim in anabolic steroids, but that won't be enough to beat Stipe, in my opinion.
Is his walk-on song the one he has in WWE? Because that is seriously intense. That's a great walk-on.
Not sure, but DC and Stipe both have two of the best walk-on songs in combat sport.
Okay.
Anyway, Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje, that's this weekend. Those two men always involved in absolutely tremendous fights, so that's more than worth a watch. But anyway, that's the end of the UFC talk. this weekend we had the Grand National, so Adam, take it away.
Yeah, we do. It's the Aintree Grand National Festival, which is obviously extremely exciting. Not quite as exciting as the Cheltenham Festival, but we still get to see some classy operators in action. But we don't get to see the champion hurdler Bouvardere, who's got a bit of mucus, so his trainer Nicky Henderson's had decided not to run him. Altior's going to Sandown. Obviously, that gruelling race in the Queen Mother, which he ended up tearing away up the hill from Min. So he won't race. Probably a bit tired. Very sensible from Nicky Henderson, obviously. If there's one man you want to decide whether a horse runs in a race, it's Nicky Henderson. He's normally a fantastic judge. One Nicky Henderson horse who will run is Might Bite, the Gold Cup horse who travelled so beautifully into the race and found so little, allowing Native River to go on and win the race. Hopefully Might Bite can come back because he's a classy operator. Footpad won't be going, the Willie Mullins horse. Mine and James is, well, up there with our favourite horse, which is quite emotional, isn't it?
Really emotional. Is Here We Go competing over the course of the week?
Here We Go, like I say, every time me and James have a horse racing conversation, he's an all-weather horse and only races on the flat. Aintree is over jumps. Anyway, slightly emotional news again. Cause of Causes, the 2017 cross-country winner at the Cheltenham Festival, the runner-up in the National last year, has been retired by JP McManus. Obviously a great horse, so we wish Cause of Causes all the best in his retirement. Anyway, let's talk the Grand National, and of course it's an absolute lottery. Anyone can pick the winner, because ultimately, most of the time, people are clueless, including myself. But
yeah, your bank account will say the same. A lot of wasted bets there.
Not true, but anyway.
It's true. Over 1,000 actually, but go on.
Definitely not the case. Anyway, the Grand National, my pick is the Irish Grand National winner, General Principle, at a lovely 33-1. Obviously won the Irish National. I think he can challenge again if the Irish National hasn't taken too much out of this horse. He looked really good in that race and looked like a very worthy winner. And looked like one who could go on. Obviously you got a Scottish National winner in Vicente, Trevor Hemmings' horse, and you couldn't rule out Trevor Hemmings from winning another National. Obviously you've got Many Clouds, that super horse that won it a couple of years ago, and Raz de Marie, the Welsh National winners, also involved in this particular race, and the favourite 10-1 Black Lion is a favourite, along with Total Recall. I think he's also 10-1.
Yeah, great film as well, Total Recall.
Yeah, really lovely. So yeah, my pick, General Principle, 33-1. Hopefully going to see some lovely action. Hopefully going to see some really nice ladies on Ladies Day as well in the crowd, which is always nice to see. But I won't be watching the National. I'll be in QPR, Queen's Park. I'm going to the Smoke, Preston North End. And that is the end of horse racing.
A really beautiful review of that sport. Anyway, moving on to the biggest sport in the world, it's football. Firstly, Manchester City, absolutely abysmal week. Firstly, they were beaten in the Champions League 3-0 by Liverpool. Wow. What do you think of the game?
It came as no surprise to me. Look, there's people telling me that Manchester City are the greatest thing since sliced bread, the best Premier League team of all time. Not for me. They are so defensively fragile, it's untrue. Every time we've seen a team serve it up to Manchester City, they've looked very fragile. You look at Liverpool in the league at Anfield when they beat City. You look at Man United over the weekend. You look at Arsenal at the Etihad when they had that half an hour period of play where they absolutely dominated, only to be robbed from a terrible linesman decision. And then you've got Liverpool in the Champions League this week. Look, Manchester City are not unbeatable. However, you've got to say, you probably couldn't rule them out going through. Because they are capable of scoring goals. And Liverpool are capable of conceding. Yeah,
but I still see Liverpool probably doing enough to make it to the semi-finals of the Champions League.
No, I completely agree. They are heavy favourites. I saw a great headline, actually. Manchester City have a glass chin. Superb.
Yeah, Vincent Kompany doesn't take a shot too well.
Vincent Kompany's about as slow as Lucas Brown. What he was.
That's nasty.
A fortnight ago.
We like Lucas.
Vincent Kompany's very slow.
I wasn't talking about Vincent. I don't care what you say about Vincent. But anyway, yeah. The Manchester derby started well for Manchester City and Vincent Kompany as they went 2-0 up. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough to hold off the Red Devils. Manchester United ended up winning the game 3-2. Absolutely spectacular comeback from the Red Devils. Just fantastic, really. Absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, I can't say I watched it live because I was travelling home from a very dull afternoon at the Majesty Stadium in Reading, North End, going down 1-0 there, unfortunately, and probably the end of their playoff charge. However, yes, I was frantically following social media to see Manchester City 1-0 up, Manchester City 2-0 up, more or less sealed the Premier League title, but Man United came back and served it up to City, and we saw Manchester United go on and win the football match.
And absolutely all the credit in the world to Paul Pogba and Chris Smalling, who received a hell of a lot of stick from their performances in the first half, but really managed to turn it around in the second half and get Manchester United the W.
And does credit go to Jose Mourinho as well for you? Because Herrera came out, I think it was today, and said, and this is Monday by the way, and said that it was more Carrick and Ashley Young, the sort of older players within the dressing room coming out.
That is bizarre that Ashley Young's an older player.
Yeah,
Ashley Young still feels about 25.
Yeah, he's another one of those sort of Anderson players who's been young for years and then very old for years. And Ashley Young is just starting that very old phase for me.
I still feel like Ashley Young's about 24 coming through, just signed from Aston Villa.
Yeah, I agree. But no, yeah. So I personally think a huge amount of credit has to go to Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Manchester City go on and romp at United, then all the flack goes on Mourinho. United come back and win 3-2. All the sort of plaudits go the way of Pogba and Smalling and Sanchez. But for me, I think that's a fantastic turnout for Mourinho against an arch rival for many years. It's a well done special one.
Yeah, well done, Jose. And also, it's absolutely fantastic, and it shows how important it is to have veteran players in the dressing room to help the youngsters put the performances together.
And that's why Chelsea is struggling, because they haven't got JT, John Terry, in that dressing room this season for me. And
he's at home with Wayne Bridges' missus.
He's actually in Aston Villa, but yeah, probably also shagging Wayne Bridges' missus at the same time. Who can blame him? She's good looking.
No, he's got a good jab nowadays, Wayne Bridges, on Sport Relief.
Yeah, John Terry wouldn't fancy entering the squared circle.
Yeah, I think Natasha Giggs is keen, though.
It's always keen, Natasha Giggs. Her legs constantly spread.
Yeah.
A bit like Man City's defence.
Fantastic. Really liked what you did there.
Thank you.
Anyway, I thought I was an LSD when David De Gea made that save off the header. I could not believe it. Truly one of the greatest saves I've ever seen. Up with there like Gordon Banks against Pele, it was that good.
Yeah, lovely save. Yeah, and let's not beat around the bush. Yes, it's a good save, but ultimately...
It was a tremendous save. Give David his credit.
Oh no, every credit to the best goalkeeper on the planet. However, Manchester City had ample chances to score that. So if Manchester City are looking at that thinking, well, De Gea's made a worldly of a save to cost us a point there, that's not the case. He should have had about 8.
Yeah, Manchester United were the better side overall. So anyway, well, slightly putting a dampener on things for Manchester United. Not that much so. Some would argue that it was a show of loyalty and respect from Ander Herrera to his Manchester United fans and supporters. He spat on the Manchester City badge. Disgusting or fiercely loyal, how would you sort of describe it?
I think he probably just did it sort of subconsciously and looked back at the sort of highlights and thought, oh jeez, what the hell have I done? I don't think it was sort of I don't think it was a sort of vicious act from Herrera. I just thought it was probably a subconscious thing to do. And
so what, I'm not one to enjoy other people's sadness, but I took great pleasure in watching the 18 to 40-year-olds Manchester City fans crying in the empty stands at the Etihad.
Yeah, it's probably the first time that they've ever seen their side get beat at the Etihad, because I'd say...
Because they usually don't go on.
Yeah, I'd say a quarter of their supporters are plastic. However, of course, you've got a core supporters at Manchester City who have been through the bad times and are reaping the current rewards, so well done to them.
Anyway.
But to the plastics, you can piss off.
Yeah. Enjoy the tears. And listen to some Oasis, half the world away. So anyway, in the other big derby over the course of the weekend, 0-0 between Everton and Liverpool, the Scouse derby, was it deadlock? Did you catch any of the fixture?
I didn't catch any of it live. I watched the highlights. I can't believe Everton haven't won the game. Obviously, Jordan Pickford's made some lovely saves, but what on earth were Everton doing? They ought to have won 2 or 3-0 really. Against a relatively second-string Liverpool 11. I know Everton have drawn with Liverpool, James, but is it a disappointing result for Everton, that, do you think?
I think going in 0-0's not a bad result, but if you get the better of the game, you like to take 3 points.
Ultimately, keeping a clean sheet against Liverpool is a good achievement, but with one eye on that second leg coming up at the Etihad for Liverpool, I think Sam Allardyce's men and supporters might feel a touch aggrieved that they didn't get all 3 points, because ultimately it was a very good opportunity to beat Liverpool for the first time in a while at Goodison.
Any word on Alan Pardew?
I can't believe how he still gets jobs. He's completely clueless.
He hasn't even been sacked from like last 20 odd clubs.
Yeah, I reckon he's managed a third of clubs who've ever been in the Premier League and done pretty much nothing at all of them, other than get a 7-year contract at Newcastle, which Mike Ashley's still paying him for. Comedy.
Yeah. He'll probably find himself another job.
Of course he will.
I heard Panathinaikos are calling.
Won't come to the Premier League anytime soon.
Anyway.
I think he's a man.
Anyway, that LSD I'd taken during that David De Gea save was combined with a hell of a lot of ketamine. I could not believe the goal that Cristiano Ronaldo scored. That bicycle kick was absolutely incredible. Wow, one of the best goals I've seen while watching football.
Couldn't agree more. He's right up there with the best goal that I've ever seen. The way he controlled that strike was just incredible. However, he could have had about 8 on the day. So it's a good job he scored that, because he would have got a lot of flack for only scoring 1. He should have scored 5.
He's another actually, because I still feel like Ronaldo's 28, but he's in his mid-30s as well.
He's getting on a bit as well, yeah.
It's good that we're sort of in an era where we're getting to witness the likes of Messi and Ronaldo. Grow old, yeah.
Still extremely good looking.
I can remember Wayne Rooney being young, and that is getting worried, because he's about 30 odd, 35 as well, isn't he?
32, actually.
32, Wayne.
And his legs have completely gone.
His hair's gone as well.
Yeah. And Wayne Rooney is the same age as David Silva.
All right.
And Wayne Rooney's completely lost most of his ability, whereas David Silva.
Oh, he's still a good footballer, Wayne.
He's decent.
He's
okay.
It's weird because your opinion's completely changed over the past year. You're a big believer in Wayne. If I'd have asked you this time last year.
No, I couldn't agree more. But Wayne Rooney's legs have completely gone. He just looks slow.
Lucas Brown.
Extremely slow. Yeah, he's another one. Yeah. Wayne Rooney, add him to the Brown.
Yeah, we're both waiting for those two to get back to their best. Yeah. Anyway, slightly saddening news. Very saddening news to bring an end to the football section of the show. Ray Wilkins.
Yeah.
Just fantastic player.
Outstanding player before his time. I never got the absolute pleasure of watching Ray Wilkins play, but everybody who had that pleasure always comments on how sort of how much time he always had on the ball. Was extremely successful at Chelsea, Man United, Rangers, PSG. He stamped his mark over in Italy at Milan as well. And you just look at all the opponents coming his way, you've got some serious legends absolutely cut up by this. John Terry being one of them. But no, yeah. And then when he retired, his punditry was absolutely second to none for me. When he spoke about football, I absolutely sat up and listened. I thought he was an outstanding pundit. He was a true football man, and unfortunately, it's been an awful couple of days for Chelsea Football Club because they've lost Ray Wilkins, a legend and an avid supporter. If you cut Ray Wilkins in half, he'd have the blue of Chelsea sprinting through his veins and pouring out, and Eric Bristow, also a big Chelsea fan as well. So an awful couple of days for Chelsea supporters. But no, rest in peace, Ray Wilkins. What an absolute legend.
Yeah, I've heard if there was an award for the nicest man in football, that award would go to the hands of Ray Wilkins.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so rest in peace, Ray. Thank you for everything you did for the sport.
Absolute legend.
Anyway, moving on to the boxing. First of all, the super fight of this year, Canelo Golovkin, the rematch. it has been called off. Of course, when Canelo failed that drug test, a lot of people thought there's just way too much money at stake for this fight to be cancelled. But it turns out that Nevada Athletic State of Commission have made the right decision. They've decided that no, you can't take drugs no matter how big of a name you are, and the fight has been cancelled. Is this a sort of monumental moment for boxing to show that you can't just do whatever you want?
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. Look, I've been outspoken on this podcast in the past that I'm not overly keen for the fight. I think that result was sort of
dubious to say the least.
Well, it was absolutely sort of made up. Like that result was confirmed in my mind that Golovkin was the better fighter in the first fight. I didn't need to see a rematch, but obviously Golovkin needs it for that W, as James mentioned earlier. But no, ultimately you can't take drugs in the sport. It's spot on from Nevada State of Commission. So I'm happy. That they've done it. I just want to see the BJ Saunders fight. I think that'd be a cracker.
Yeah, we all want to see Billy get his crack at the elite in the division. Golovkin, of course, now looking for a replacement opponent. There's been names thrown around left, right and centre. Jamie Managua was an option. Of course, the Athletic Commission haven't actually allowed him to take the fight because they don't believe it's a fair enough matchup. They believe he's too young and too inexperienced to compete with the likes of Golovkin. Spike O'Sullivan is another fighter who's heavily been linked with the fight. For me, Spike is a very game fighter, a very big puncher, but a few fights ago he's going to have to save him from Chris Eubank Jr. I think that's a scarily dangerous mismatch if that fight was to go ahead.
It's just awful. I don't think there's one supporter of the sport out there who'd like to see Spike O'Sullivan step in the ring with GGG.
Yeah. If it was up to me, it'd be a Demetrius Andrade or a Sergey Derevyanchenko. Somebody like that for Gennady, a decent fight. Not Spike, hopefully. Although credit to Spike for Derry to be great. I've got rumoured to be on that card the return of Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, and it could well be heading away from Las Vegas and over to LA, so not too far. And it would remain a HBO pay-per-view, to my knowledge. Anyway, over the course of the weekend, double header over in Vegas. First of all, I wrote Jared Hurd off against Erislandy Lara over the weekend. I thought Erislandy Lara was going to be way too slick for him. But Jarrett, looking for big fights constantly. His first defence was against Austin Trout. People thought, he's a risk. You might not win, but he did it. People saying, it's stupid. What's the point of fighting Erislandy Lara? Nobody wants to fight him. He's Cuban, he's awkward, he's tricky. Nobody's really keen to fight him. He's just too slick for you. Jarrett showed that grit and determination was enough to unify the division. So every credit in the world to Jarrett for proving people wrong and always wanting to fight the best. He's now at the pinnacle of that super welterweight division. Of course, there's a lot of interest for the Brits with the likes of Liam Smith and Kell Brook also at world level there, looking to challenge.
Yep.
Right, thank you. I was sort of leading you in for a bit of analysis.
Oh, sorry, no, I'd back Kell Brook to beat Hurd and be a world champion and unify the division.
Right, thank you for all the enthusiasm you showed there. Anyway, secondly, co-main event, James DeGale regained his world title. Of course, huge upset at the Copper Box in December where Caleb Truitt came in at 16-1 and bullied the title off James DeGale. This time around, James has done enough to regain his title. He's scraped through. He's world champion again. And there's huge fights out there with the likes of George Groves.
Yeah, I can't wait for these fights. There's a lot of talk that... look, it was a really close fight. Truax showed to be a very capable fighter. DeGale started really well. Truax came into the fight, and DeGale probably ended the better of the two fighters and ultimately won the title. So delighted about that, obviously, because I'm a big DeGale man to a certain extent. I just feel that Jack fight took a lot out of him. So if he is to go into another huge fight, he needs to be absolutely spot on. Yeah.
I feel that when we look back at James's career, we're going to be extremely disappointed. Although he's a world champion and Olympic gold medalist, it sort of feels like he could have been special. He takes fights where he should win very comfortably and he makes really hard work out of it. For example, like defending against Porky Medina and Lucien Butte. He should be winning comfortably. But he gets himself into really tough fights. he took a lot of punishment against Baddy Jack, a lot of punishment in both fights against Caleb Tricks, and I just feel that he's too far down on the slide to beat a George Groves at this stage.
I just think DeGale's a big fight man, and the occasion brings out the best in him. We saw the best of DeGale against Jack, I felt, and that was a cracking fight.
I don't think we did see the best James DeGale. I don't think James DeGale's been at his best since he fought Anthony Durrell. Won the world title.
I personally think it was a fantastic performance from DeGale against Jack.
Did you? I thought Jack gave him a hide in the second half of the fight and was unlucky not to get the decision.
No, I think I just had DeGale on top after the 12. He would have certainly won the fight if he didn't go down in the last. I think DeGale will turn up against the big men like Groves, and yeah, I'd really relish watching those two fight.
Now, moving on. In July last year, Jeff Horn, a local school teacher, in Australia, took on the monumental challenge of Manny Pacquiao. Everybody in the world wrote Jeff Horn off. He was a huge underdog. I think he was 8-1. He was a man who'd only started boxing at 18. He started because he was going through suicidal thoughts, depression, because he was constantly getting bullied at school. He surprised the whole entire world when he beat Manny Pacquiao in front of 50,000 fans at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Absolutely tremendous win. But I don't think that gives him any chance whatsoever against Terence Crawford, unfortunately. Terence is elite. He's coming into that welterweight division to make a mark. He wants the fights against Errol Spence, Keith Thurman. Unfortunately, although I'm a huge Jeff Horn fan, really nice guy, got a great story, I feel that Terence will be too much for him.
Yeah, Horn caught Manny Pacquiao at a fantastic time to fight him, ultimately beat him, but yeah, Crawford's that one step too far, and he's a very hungry fighter, Terence Crawford, for that, as James mentioned, to fight Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, so yeah, larger fights in that division for Crawford, I think he'll brush Horn to one side, with all due respect. Yeah.
Anyway, so Manny Pacquiao, he's got his latest fight. He's taking on Lucas Matisse for the WBA regular title in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia.
Kuala Lumpur.
Lumpur, then. Yeah. Right, thank you. So anyway, that's where Manny's career's gone. Should it just be, is it just dragging on too long, this career of Manny Pacquiao?
Ultimately, Pacquiao probably ought to have retired even before he fought Mayweather. I just feel like it's just going on and on and on without too much reward for Pacquiao.
There's nothing he can do now that's going to make his legacy any better. No. So the only thing he's risking now is his health. He's got a lot going on in the Philippines, of course. He's a big part of the government out there. He's a senator. So I'd like him rather to concentrate now on what he can do for politics.
Oh, lovely politics. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, big congratulations to Lucas Big Daddy Brown. He's just proposed to his girlfriend. She said yes, he's going to get married. Really well done to Lucas. Absolutely fantastic that he's getting married.
Yeah. All the best, Lucas. It'll be a slow walk down the aisle.
That's nasty.
Sorry.
Well, he's got to get himself back in shape. He'll be moving like he was in this Shaggy F fight, and he'll dart down that aisle to marry his wife.
To knock his wife out.
I would not condone Lucas Brown knocking out his wife at the altar. Hopefully he just marries her, and that's that.
I do, too. Get it?
I do.
I do. Tremendous.
Yeah, we're seriously running out of ideas here. Anyway, another really controversial thing this weekend, of course, I'm actually a bit late to the party with this news, but I'm going to cover it anyway. Of course, we're in a sport which is extremely dangerous. People are getting punched in the head. Risks are associated. You can die. You can be severely injured. Earlier, Deontay Wilder said that he'd like a body on his record, implying that he'd like to kill somebody in the ring. I think in a sport as dangerous as this, that's a disgusting thing to say.
It is a disgusting comment. It's just completely uncalled for. I mean, he's champion of the world. Why can't he just get on with his fucking boxing? Why does he have to want to claim lives? I just don't get it. What a bell end.
Anyway, sad news again. Another sport has lost one of their pioneers. Chris Edwards passed away, unfortunately, at the age of 41. Former British champion. We'd just like to say rest in peace to him, and our thoughts are with his family and friends.
Absolutely, rest in peace.
Anyway, what a weekend. It was WrestleMania season. WrestleMania 34, and for me, before we sort of cover the card, a little disappointing.
Yeah, it goes without saying. I'll be honest, I wasn't overly inspired by the card before it even kicked off. However, I was filled with optimism. I was really keen. I really wanted to enjoy a lovely 5 hours in the middle of the night of intense wrestling action.
Yeah, some people say we need to grow up.
Others completely agree with us watching WrestleMania.
Others love Monster Energy and are absolutely behind us watching WrestleMania. Anyway, we kick off with a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. Seth Rollins defeats The Miz and Finn Balor to collect that title. Really emotional for The Miz.
Yeah, we're big Miz men. Unfortunately, The Miz was to go down, lose his title, but hopefully the WWE sort of try to get him on that world title trail, because that's where he belongs.
Yeah. The Miz, of course, a very crafty man now. A veteran now. He's another. I think he's 28. He's 30. He's 37, The Miz.
Yeah, he's one of them, isn't he?
He's really getting on.
He really is. But, yeah, a skull-crushing finale.
Yeah. Anyway, Charlotte Flair ended the streak of Asuka and devastated a lot of Asian dreams.
Yes, I'm a big supporter of the Queen, Charlotte Flair. I think she's really enjoyable to watch. She's really enjoyable to look at, and it's really
we rate them on their ability,
yeah,
not their looks.
I do both, but anyway, yeah, Flair, great to see her win. Asuka, really sort of uncharismatic in my opinion. So I welcomed her defeat, her demise.
Randy Orton lost at United States level against Jinder Mahal, Bobby Roode, and Rusev. What is Randy even doing at United States level? This is one of the greatest of all time.
I called it last week. Look, Jinder Mahal is a world-class athlete. He's a fantastic wrestler. Unfortunately, Randy Orton wasn't up to it, but who can blame him? Because Jinder Mahal is world-class.
Bizarre, because you would have said very different about Jinder Mahal a few weeks ago.
Yeah, look, I've really warmed to Jinder Mahal. I think he's an absolutely incredible wrestler now. He's in great shape. He looks
What's
the
made
part.
you warm to Jinder?
I just think he's in great shape.
He's always been in good shape, Jinder.
Yeah, I know, but he looks like he's got that sort of grip between his teeth, a steely determination to go on and win the titles. And it's great to see. Unfortunately, Randy wasn't good enough on the night. Go on, Jinder Mahal.
Randy should always be good enough. He shouldn't be at that level in the fucking first place.
Well, that was your Jinder, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Jinder should not be competing for the United States Championship. Jinder should be on Superstars. But anyway, Ronda Rousey made her in-ring debut. It was actually the best match on the card. Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle took on Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. How cool did Triple H and Stephanie McMahon look on that ring entrance?
Yeah, look, Triple H always provides a spectacle when he walks to the ring, but how incredible did Steph McMahon look last night? I thought she was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, she looked very good to say the least, Stephanie McMahon. Fantastic outfit, I tell you. I don't know who picked that out, but they did an excellent job of dressing her.
Well, probably her.
Yeah, maybe. I'm assuming there's people behind that, though, that deal with the costumes.
Yeah, potentially.
Anyway, what did you think of Ronda's in-ring debut? Do you think she has any ability?
Yeah, she's decent enough, isn't she? I don't think she's up there with the greats like Trish Stratus or Mickey James or the Beth Phoenix of this world, but yeah, she's decent enough.
I wish they wouldn't try and make her a boxer, though, because the boxing is terrible, as we found out against Amanda Nunes. But anyway, well done to Ronda. She performed well, especially considering it was her debut. My favourite moment of the fight was when Kurt Angle speared Ronda Rousey by accident.
Yes, and cut his eye.
Yeah. Also, I would have been in absolute tears if Triple H had been submitted by Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, that would have been about as low as it could possibly be in sports entertainment.
Anyway, moving on. The Bludgeon Brothers defeated the New Day and the Usos. And I can't believe any of them got a chance at that high stake at WrestleMania.
I can't believe that either of those men are literally seeing money get put into their bank account, probably each month, from WWE, because they are employed by WWE. they are all absolutely useless, other than Kofi Kingston, who used to be good back in the day.
I wish they'd bring Kofi Kingston back, take him away from this New Day stuff, coax him out of some Jamaican attire and have him trouble in paradising people on his own. That man should be winning intercontinental titles for fun. I don't know what he's doing handing out pancakes and fucking playing the trombone.
It's very questionable, isn't it?
Anyway, so next up, it's been billed for weeks and weeks and weeks, The Undertaker versus John Cena, two of the very best of all time, and I thought it was disgusting and just pathetic the way they did it, that it lasted for about 2 minutes.
It was absolutely vile. I just can't understand it. I mean, John Cena's obviously one of the most decorated wrestlers of all time, and for The Undertaker to just blow him away after not being in the ring for a year is for me, slightly disrespectful.
Yeah, it should have been an absolute spectacle, but it wasn't to be for whatever reason. I know The Undertaker's getting on, but surely he can survive more than 3 minutes in the ring.
Yeah, the match ought to have gone on for about half an hour to 45 minutes, not just a couple of throwaway minutes. It's, and for me, it just brought it down. Like, I wasn't keen for the rest of the card after that. It was right in the middle of the night. It was just uninspiring, just rubbish.
Daniel Bryan made his ring return alongside Shane McMahon to defeat Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. First of all, Daniel Bryan got injured right at the start of the match. And I was thinking, oh God, this has gone wrong. Daniel Bryan's ring return, the doctors have got it wrong. He's out. He's done. Concussed. But it turned out it was all part of the story, and they won the match relatively comfortably.
Yeah, you can't beat Shane McMahon. I like Daniel Bryan as well. He's actually a really good tag team. Welcome back to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, first issue, Daniel Bryan won via the Yes Lock. What is the Yes Lock? Back in my day, that was called the Bell Lock, and I'm gutted that they've changed the name.
Agree.
Anyway, then it was Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss, and Nia Jax, too big, too gritty, too determined. And she'd been fat-shamed in the build-up. And she really wanted to prove her point, and she beat Alexa Bliss to claim the Women's Championship.
I hope she's okay with that storyline. For me, it probably went a bit too far.
Oi, she's a strong and independent woman.
Yeah, I know, but nobody likes insults getting thrown at you, do they? I really like Nia Jax. I think she's a very likeable athlete.
Yeah.
Hot and...
Well, I suppose whatever category you're searching for, then maybe Nia Jax would be.
Yeah,
be your sort of thing.
She's a very good in-ring competitor as well.
Yeah. Anyway, first of all, I need to set the record straight. Anyone saying that AJ Styles versus Nakamura is a dream match needs to get their head tested. We have spent years growing up along the likes of Christian, Edge, Cena, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, etc., etc. How are these two men remotely considered anywhere near that elite level?
It's absolutely ridiculous to me. I'm seeing like grown people genuinely claiming that AJ Styles is the best ever. Absolutely obscene.
AJ Styles isn't the top 50 as far as I'm concerned.
I know, they've grown up in this attitude era where everyone was absolutely dynamite, and now they're looking upon this sort of AJ Styles clown to be their saviour. It's shite.
AJ's not particularly brilliant. Shinsuke's not particularly brilliant. People calling this a dream match. I don't know what they're talking about. I'd rather see Yoshitatsu versus Evan Bourne, as I tweeted on the night. Those two men should be on Superstars.
However, Shinsuke Nakamura's got an absolutely fantastic
great walkout, yeah.
It's superb. I love that. Anyway.
Glorious. Anyway, next up, Cesaro and Sheamus, who've been on every pay-per-view for the last 25 years defending tag team belts. We're defending against Braun Strowman and a mystery competitor. So we're thinking, is it the return of Rey Mysterio, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy? No, it was a young lad called Nicholas from the crowd.
Yeah. Yes, and it was extremely uninspiring, a complete load of shite. I mean, Strowman was supposed to be this really horrible, sort of...
The monster among men.
Brute who could go through even Brock Lesnar. But it's been a bit of a fall from grace, unfortunately. He's gone from being a realistic opponent for Lesnar to a tag team champion with a 10-year-old. It's just a bit bizarre.
Yeah, Nicholas looked like he was almost crying on the ring apron. He was shaking like a very elderly dog.
Like a shitting dog.
So to speak, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Nicholas looked scared to bits. And as of right now, Nicholas is the tag team champion.
Yeah, you think of all the legends who've gone by, really worked hard to get to that point, like the Dudley Boys and the Brothers of Destruction.
Edge and Christian.
These legends.
Vladimir Kozlov and Santino Marella.
The Hardy Boys, you know. And now you've got a 10-year-old who all he's done is come out of the penis of a wrestling referee who happens to organise who comes out when. It's just, what has happened to the company?
Yeah, it took a big risk actually because Braun Strowman made the decision to tag Nicholas in. Of course, Nicholas like shit a brick and tagged Braun's back in. But if he'd have tagged in like a proper like young enthusiast of WWE, they'd have sprinted it Cesaro. At 10 years old, I'd have gone right for Cesaro.
Yeah, I'd have gone for the spear probably, something like that. Or the punt as Randy Orton used to do.
That punt ended careers. That's one of the scariest moves I've ever seen.
I did live.
Chris Jericho's career ended indefinitely.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You made the list.
You just made the list. But anyway, moving on, the main event. Another not particularly inspiring one. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Roman kicked out about 25 F5s. Looked like he was going to win the match because, of course, Brock potentially heading back to the UFC. Of course, Brock in the meetings leading up to this probably said, no, I don't want to lose. Sorry, I'm not losing. And therefore he didn't. Not particularly good match, and Brock retains his championship.
Yeah, it wasn't inspiring before, but it always had sort of potential to be a relatively entertaining match. Any match with Brock Lesnar involved it tends to be quite entertaining, but on this occasion it was just literally F5 after F5, no real imagination from WWE, and ultimately Lesnar won the match at 3-1. Actually, I couldn't quite believe it because I checked the odds prior to the event, which is unlike me, but I did. And Lesnar's at 3-1, Reigns at 1-6, and yeah, unbelievable really, because Lesnar are the champion. Imagine that he wouldn't be 3-1, but.
So what do you think is going to happen? Is Brock going to sign a new contract? Is Brock going to go to UFC? Is the title going to go vacant? What happens to Brock from this point?
I think he's going back to UFC. I mean, White was in attendance last night, wasn't he?
So what do you do with the title just vacant?
Yeah, maybe like a
King of the Ring?
A battle royal sort of thing, maybe.
Yeah.
I suppose that huge pay-per-view's coming up in Jeddah, isn't it? So maybe they might put it on the line for that 50-man Royal Rumble. Who knows?
Anyway, WrestleMania overall, very disappointing for me. Probably the worst I've seen.
Ever. Of all time. Yeah. End off.
But anyway, WrestleMania 35 next year in New York. Could you be tempted?
I could be tempted if I had more cash, but at this age...
You can always sell your body.
Well, always. I mean, I do that sometimes anyway. But, yeah, if it was in, say, 10 years' time, it would have been a viable option. Nowadays, unfortunately, it's just got the wrong time. So, a bit disappointed. But who cares when WWE is taking a plunge like it has?
Absolutely. Anyway, going on. Great film out in the cinemas at the moment, starring John Cena. Blockers, 100% recommend. Storyline basically being young girls going to prom, mad keen to lose their virginity. Cena and the other parents, Leslie Mann and another bloke, I can't remember his name, desperately keen to stop them from doing what young teenagers do. Fantastic because it showed sort of the perspective of young teenage girls rather than lads, which isn't done regularly, and also how much of a struggle it is for parents to see their kids grow up and for them to go off to college. Really good film, quite funny. John Cena, a great comedy actor. I more than recommend it. Next up, I'd like to thank Luke for being our technical producer and getting us to 10 episodes. This hasn't been easy. We've had technical difficulty after technical difficulty after technical difficulty. Me and Adam are clueless in the world of IT, so thank you for Luke for doing that.
A terrific achievement. Well done, Luke. And he's had to listen to these live
10 times.
In the office sort of thing.
Yeah. So, in terms of when we're having a technical difficulty, we can't help him. He has to figure that out himself.
So well done, Luke.
Yeah. Finally, Daliso Chaponda, a comedian I saw this weekend. He's currently going on What the Africans Said tour. Extremely funny man. Very offensive jokes, but sort of manages to keep you at ease while he's telling them. Very funny. He's been through a lot of stuff in his life, which he was telling about during his tour. More than worth a watch. I hope he breaks out into arenas. Lastly, Eric Bristow, of course, very sad in regards to what's happened to him this week on Thursday. we'd like to once again pay our respects to him, his family, his friends, and we're going out to his walkout song this week, Rabbit by Chas and Dave. Thank you very much for listening. Double figures, thank you.
Goodbye.
You got a beautiful chin. You've got beautiful skin. You've got a beautiful face. You've got taste. Na 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 na. You got beautiful eyes. You got beautiful thighs. So you got a lot without a doubt. But I'm thinking about blowing you out. No, you won't stop talking. Why don't you give it a rest? Rabbit, 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 rabbit. You got more rabbit than Sainsbury's. It's time you got it off your chest. See, you are just the kind of girl to break my heart in two. And I knew right off when I first set my eyes on you. But how was I to know you bent my ear holes too? With your excessive talking, you're becoming a pest. Rabbit, 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 rabbit.